Imagine finding a book, right? And it claims to be a direct message, like unfiltered from the Illuminati. Not just the conspiracy theory version, but, the actual global elite making decisions in secret. So the big question is this profound wisdom hitting us, or is it maybe just a very, very polished sales pitch? Today we're diving deep into Illuminatiam, the First Testament. It's this short, kind of mysterious book published by an organization that, calls itself the Illuminati. What's really interesting is how easy it is to get. It's online, it's in print, which seems odd for a group that's supposed to be, super secret, a modern version of that old historical society.
Exactly. And our mission today, it's not really about believing or disbelieving. We're kind of like curious guides here, treating this text like a puzzle box, something carefully put together. We're going to try and open it up piece by piece, look at its core claims, dissect them, analyze the persuasive techniques, because let's be honest, it is persuasive. And we'll definitely spot some fascinating contradictions along the way, explore the potential motives. I mean, why would a group calling itself secret publish a book like this for everyone to see? Is it real spiritual wisdom, a kind of new philosophy, or is it more strategic? Persuasion, maybe even, like you said, a funnel leading somewhere else. We'll keep a balanced skepticism, I think. Ask the tough questions, but, without mocking it, just trying to understand.
Okay, so let's peel back that first layer. Chapter 1, the Age of Illumination. And right away, it hits you with this huge assertion. No beating around the bush. It just flat out declares, the Illuminati is this ancient anonymous group. Global elites. Think powerful politicians, CEOs, major influencers, the whole lot. And they're supposedly secretly governing humanity's survival, like the big picture stuff. They claim they operate beyond borders, beyond religion, even beyond normal laws, making these huge decisions for the greater good that apparently regular leaders can't or won't make. It's, a really bold opening statement, claiming there's this hidden hand running the world, the ultimate guardians, but unseen.
It is bold. And what's really fascinating right from the start is how it sets up this feeling of pervasive influence, invisible almost. It's designed to make you, the reader, feel like you're already connected to something bigger. The book claims their symbols, the pyramids, the all-seeing eyes we see everywhere on money, logos, art. They say those aren't just coincidences. No, they're supposedly hidden there on purpose. In art, buildings, media, subtly guiding the worthy, people like you, the listener maybe, guiding you towards their teachings. It's actually a very clever way to suggest that even your interest in these symbols or in the Illuminati itself is not random. It's like a sign. You're special. It's a call only certain people hear.
Yeah, and it gets even more direct, almost intense. With this tactic, we can maybe call it the "you found this book for a reason" approach. The text insists, really insists, that you picking up this book isn't just chance. It wasn't casual browsing. Nope. It says it's the direct result of their invisible domino effect. A force that's been shaping your whole life, apparently, leading you right to this moment, reading it or listening to us talk about it. So psychologically, what's that doing to the reader? It feels a bit like love bombing, doesn't it? You're not just anyone, you're special, you were chosen, guided here. Taps right into that deep human need to feel unique, to belong, to have a destiny, even if someone else planned it.
Exactly. That initial flattery, it creates an instant connection, makes the reader feel important, inducted almost, before they've even really started reading. And then almost straight away it drops this paradox, this idea of doubt as control. So the book actually says most readers will probably dismiss it, think it's a hoax or just fiction. But then, this is the twist, it claims that very skepticism, your disbelief, that's also part of their plan. It's a deliberate tactic, they say, to weed out the unworthy. The book literally says, and it's kind of chilling, even if you disbelieve, a voice whispers, what if it's true? That voice is ours. That is, it's a profound kind of mind game, subtle but really insidious psychological manipulation. It plants seeds of self-doubt. It tries to undermine your own critical thinking. Because if your skepticism is just part of their plan, how can you trust your own judgment? It's a no-win situation for your rational mind. Your disbelief doesn't debunk them. It supposedly proves their power over you. Keeps you hooked, even if you have doubts. It really does remind you of some recruitment tactics, where any pushback is just reframed as part of the process. Undermines your autonomy.
It's totally an inversion of logic, isn't it? Your own rational thought becomes the proof for their power.
Yeah.
It's, mind-bending. But let's pause for a second. We need some historical context here. Because the name Illuminati, it carries a lot of weight, centuries of whispers. The actual Bavarian Illuminati, founded back in 1776, they were Enlightenment thinkers. Secret, yes, but their goal was different. They wanted to fight superstitions, oppose abuses of power by church and state, promote reason, morality. They were secret, sure, but their methods, their aims, vastly different from what this book describes. So how does this modern claim, this book that's everywhere, stack up against what real historical secret societies did? How does that difference help us understand this puzzle?
That's a really important point. Historically, genuine secret societies, and when we stayed secret, that was kind of the point. Their activities were hidden. Their members often unknown to the public. Why? Because often they were challenging existing power structures. Exposure was risky. They definitely weren't, publishing books on Amazon detailing their inner workings, or actively trying to recruit people online, or selling merch. The very public nature of Illumination, the First Testament, it's a stark contrast, almost comical, really, compared to how we understand truly hidden groups operated historically. That difference alone raises a huge red flag about whether this is a genuine continuation of some ancient secret group. It suggests a totally different motive, doesn't it? Public engagement, maybe. Persuasion. Maybe even, like we said, business, not covert operations.
Absolutely. And that contrast, it really sets the scene for the next part, chapter 3, which is boldly called Methods of Mind Control. And here the claims just escalate massively. It asserts the Illuminati has weaponized technology to implant subconscious commands in humanity since birth.
Okay, so we're way past little symbols now. This is full-on, pervasive, tech-based mind control they're claiming.
Oh, absolutely. The details are quite specific, though let's be clear, completely unsubstantiated. But it shows the audacity, right? For instance, they claim prenatal programming. Through sounds heard in the womb, fetuses supposedly absorbing pre-programmed messages to shape their future, and then after birth it continues. Electronic hypnosis, they call it. Undetectable signals broadcast through our phones, TVs, radios, all steering our behavior. The book gives examples like, buy this, or trust this leader, just push into our subconscious. It paints this picture of humanity as, well, completely puppets, our free will just an illusion, controlled from conception. Wow. And just when you might be thinking, okay, this is just too far-fetched, the book pulls another twist. That doubt as a tool thing comes back, turning your skepticism against you again. It claims the Illuminati deliberately floods the world with fake conspiracy theories to make their real influence seem absurd. The book basically says, you're scoffing at this. Yeah, that's because we trained you to scoff. It's incredibly manipulative, cynical even. It implies your own rationality, your common sense in dismissing wild claims. That's just their conditioning. You dismiss it because they want you to, so their real control stays hidden behind all the noise and absurdity. It's like like getting a fancy invitation to this imaginary super club, but they've already decided you're joining, whether you realize it or not. And if you resist, well, that's just part of their plan too.
It really is a masterclass in psychological manipulation, isn't it? By saying your skepticism is because of their programming, they try to invalidate your whole ability to think critically. It makes it really hard to trust your own gut feeling, your own judgment, which of course makes you more susceptible to their influence. If you can't trust yourself, who do you trust? Them? Maybe, but yeah. This also leads us to a pretty huge logical contradiction, doesn't it? If they're that powerful, prenatal messages, electronic mind control, orchestrating global skepticism, then why on earth do they need to publish a book revealing all their methods? If their power is absolute, their control total, what's the point of telling everyone how they do it?
That's the million-dollar question, right? If you genuinely have that level of control, manipulating whole populations subconsciously, why bother with writing and publishing and selling a book? Why explain yourself at all if your power is already total, invisible, unquestioned? It suggests a weakness maybe, a need for validation, or more likely, a desire to recruit or influence people consciously, which totally contradicts the idea that they're omnipotent puppet masters pulling strings behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They claim this global, unbeatable control over minds and actions. But at the same time, they're acting like a direct-to-consumer brand.
Yeah.
They need to sell books. They need to get followers online. The very existence of this book, the need for it, it just fundamentally clashes with the level of hidden control they claim. It points to a massive gap between what they say they can do and what they're actually doing. Makes you seriously question their real motives.
Okay, so from this vast mind control idea, the book then focuses on a very specific, almost mythical place. Chapter 2, the White Room. This is supposedly the actual physical HQ for the Illuminati, described as hyper-secure, totally off-grid, on some uncharted island in the Atlantic. It sounds like something straight out of the spy movie, doesn't it? James Bond stuff. Yeah. Ultimate secrecy, untouchable power.
It really does. And the book gives these vivid details about how it looks. A windowless, candlelit concrete bunker. For maximum isolation, presumably. With a big glass table in the middle, specifically glass, they claim, so no one can hide recording devices. And the leaders, when they meet to make these world-changing decisions, they supposedly strip naked, wear only white robes. Why? to ensure no concealed weapons or wires. It creates this really theatrical, almost ritualistic image, a place of absolute secrecy, purged of any possible betrayal or outside influence. Very serious, very secure. Or so they want us to think.
And the purpose of this white room, what goes on there? Well, according to the book, it's where they discuss the heaviest global issues, genocides, wars, how resources are distributed, all decided without public backlash, because the public apparently can't handle it. It even gives an example, claiming they stopped some dictator's plot to use bio-balloons like biological weapons because the Illuminati intercepted his emails, so they position themselves as the necessary evil almost, the ultimate protectors, operating in total shadow, making the hard calls nobody else can.
And the justification they give for this secrecy, this unilateral power, it's very telling. And again, psychologically manipulative. The book says humanity basically is too emotional to handle these big truths. It argues that if the White Room decisions, or even just the room's existence, were revealed, it would cause civilization to collapse, mass panic, chaos everywhere. Now, see how that narrative works. It flatters the Illuminati, they're the wise, stable guardians. But it simultaneously infantilizes the rest of us, portrays humanity as incapable of dealing with reality, too irrational. It manufactures a need for their benevolent control, suggests we need them because we're just too fragile, too human to manage things without their hidden guidance.
But again, the paradox is just staring you in the face. We protect your freedom by restricting it. That whole idea. And the big question pops up again. If this room is so secret, if its discussions are so dangerous that knowing about them would cause global meltdown, why on earth are they describing it in such detail, so theatrically, in a book anyone can buy? Why would a truly secret, all-powerful group expose their most sacred, hidden command center, down to the detail about leaders getting naked? It defies logic.
It's another one of those core contradictions that really pulls the rug out from under their claims. They spend a whole chapter building up this picture of extreme secrecy, dire consequences if it's breached, and then they hand you a detailed description, almost a blueprint for anyone to read. It's just impossible to reconcile the idea of an omnipotent hidden group with one that feels the need to publish a tell-all about its most secret meeting place. It completely blows apart the premise of secrecy. It strongly suggests the book's goal isn't to keep secrets, but to create a story, a narrative of power, maybe to intimidate or recruit or just sell the myth itself.
Yeah, exactly. From the super secret White Room, the book then pivots to something maybe even more chilling, especially today. Chapter 4, How You Are Watched. And the claim here is an omnipotent surveillance network monitoring all digital activity. It sounds terrifyingly plausible in our digital world, doesn't it? A worst-case scenario given how much we live online.
It really does tap into modern anxieties. The book claims total, inescapable data gathering. Every email you send, every Google search, every social media post, supposedly archived. There's some indestructible global database. And it's not just digital. They explicitly say facial recognition tracks everyone, even in crowds. So it paints this picture of a world where privacy just doesn't exist. It's an illusion. Every move, every word, every online click, recorded, known, stored by the shadowy group. It's a vision of complete omnipresence, designed to make you feel totally exposed, constantly watched.
And the justification for this massive invasion of privacy, this global surveillance grid, they claim it's purely altruistic, to prevent atrocities. They mention that foiled genocide plot again as an example. So it's framed as a necessary evil, something they have to do for the greater good.
Classic rhetorical moves, isn't it? Frame something deeply invasive, total surveillance as a protective measure, benevolent protection. They try to build trust by saying, we're the guardians keeping you safe from the horrors.
Oh!
And then, subtly, they introduce the idea of complete obedience being necessary. It's an implied deal. Give up all your privacy, and we'll keep you safe. But it's not just subtle. There's also a very direct, very chilling threat in there. The book claims the Illuminati regularly blackmails leaders who step out of line, using their secrets. It gives the example. A politician's affair could end his career if we allow it.
Right. So this isn't just about protection. It's about control. Control through knowing everyone's vulnerabilities. That line, it's incredibly chilling. There are no secrets, only secrets we allow. Think about what that means for you, the listener, if it were true. It means your whole life, every private mistake, every embarrassing search history, every vulnerability, it's all transparent to them. And not only do they know it, but your future, your reputation, your career could depend entirely on whether they choose to reveal it or keep it hidden. It implies zero individual agency, zero real privacy. Your past becomes a weapon they hold.
And this raises another significant logic gap in their story of being all-powerful. If they really control everything, monitor everyone so closely they know about a politician's affair, maybe even before it happens, Why do they let these politicians have affairs or do other things they then need to blackmail them for? If their surveillance is truly omnipotent, truly proactive, shouldn't they be able to prevent these things? Or intervene much earlier? Why wait for the transgression just so you can use it as leverage later? It suggests their control is more reactive, maybe, not truly omnipotent or preemptive, which again contradicts the grand claims of absolute power. It's almost like they need these secrets to exist to give them leverage, rather than actually preventing bad behavior in the first place.
Okay, moving into the next section, Chapter 5, The Need for Hardships. And this is where the book makes a really controversial claim. A psychologically interesting one. It reframes suffering itself. It says poverty, hardship, misfortune, they aren't random. They're not just bad luck or societal problems. No, they are deliberate tests designed by the Illuminati, intended to identify and sort of cultivate future leaders for their organization. So if you're struggling, it's not just a struggle, it's potentially part of some grand screening process, an audition you didn't know you were in.
It's a profound reframing, isn't it? And potentially quite insidious. The book argues that wealth is an illusion. Money only has value, they claim, because the Illuminati says it does. Its distribution is controlled. And the rich. They stay rich not through normal means, like hard work or inheritance, but by programming their minds for success, which is supposedly tied to Illuminati influence. This just completely flips our usual understanding of economics and individual effort. And hardships, addiction, bankruptcy, deep personal loss, they claim these aren't failures. They're sieves, designed to filter out the weak, leaving only the resilient, the worthy. They use this powerful, almost inspiring example. A beggar with a king's mindset will rise. A king with a beggar's mindset will fall. It cleverly twists misfortune into a sign of hidden potential, makes suffering seem meaningful, purposeful.
Yeah, on the surface, it sounds almost like a self-help message, right? Finding meaning in struggle. But it's wrapped up in this much larger, controlling narrative. The psychological tactic seems really direct here. Your suffering isn't pointless, we designed it. It has a purpose. It's trying to give this ultimate meaning to hardship, no matter how awful it is.
It is a very common tactic. You see it in various persuasive groups, some cults, even some self-help movements. It works because it rationalizes misfortune. It can make someone feel their struggles aren't just random, unfair, or meaningless. Instead, they're part of a bigger, important plan. That offers a powerful kind of comfort validation, especially when coupled with the idea that only a few will understand this truth. So if you get it, if you accept your suffering as a test, well, that makes you one of the special ones, one of the elite. But the implications are pretty significant and maybe dangerous. It could shift responsibility away from personal choices or societal issues or just plain bad luck. Instead, you feel tested by this hidden force. That fosters a weird mix of victimhood, someone's doing this to you, and chosenness, but it's happening because you're special. It can be really appealing if you're looking for answers or meaning in difficult times. Encourages maybe passive endurance over actively changing things.
Right, it adds this layer of fatalism, but with a twist of hidden destiny. Okay, so from the purpose of suffering, the book moves into the secret of power in Chapter 6. This is where it supposedly reveals how control really works in the world. Pulls back the curtain on their power mechanics.
And the core message here is quite philosophical, but also very practical for their narrative. Power, they claim, doesn't come from resources, not money, not armies. It comes primarily from belief. Leaders rule, the book says, not because they're inherently better or stronger, but simply because people think they should. That's a pretty profound idea about consensus, collective belief. A reality is socially constructed. Then they take it a step further. They claim the Illuminati actively suppresses scientific research into the subconscious mind. Research that they imply could unlock humanity's true potential, our own hidden power. Why suppress it? To hide this secret from us? Because if we all knew our collective power, how our shared beliefs shape things, well, we wouldn't need them ruling over us, would we?
It's like they're saying, we know the secret to your own power, and we're keeping it from you so we can use it against you. Wow. The book even seems to promote this radical manifestation idea for people who want in. Tell yourself you're a king until others believe it, and then it just lays it out starkly. The sheep versus shepherds dynamic. It states, quite bluntly, that 99% of humans are just flock, meant to be guided. But 1%, the Illuminati, they're the shepherds. That's a deeply elitist view of humanity. Authoritarian, really.
Oh, absolutely. It's a very clear, unapologetic elitism tactic, designed to create this sharp us versus them divide, and it flatters anyone thinking of joining. Suggests they are part of that enlightened 1%, inherently superior to the masses. It positions the Illuminati as having the secret knowledge, this truth about power that lets them manage the rest of us for our own good, supposedly. Just think about the implications if people in power actually believe that, if they truly see the vast majority as just flock. It doesn't just justify controlling forms of government, it almost necessitates them. It throws democracy, individual rights, inherent human worth right out the window for the 99%. Reduces them to, well, sheep to be managed, provides a kind of moral cover for total control.
Okay, so after all the control, the mind games, the suffering, the book then dangles this glittering vision of hope. Chapter 7, The Future of This Planet. It promises this amazing utopia. An age of illumination is coming. All the world's problems gone. But naturally, there's a catch. Always a catch. This utopia only arrives after the Illuminati deems humanity ready, so it's a conditional promise, a carrot kept just out of reach.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And they boost this promise with claims about withheld tech. That's a classic element in these kinds of narratives. They say things like free energy, weather control, even 3D printed organs. Yeah. They already exist, but are withheld to prevent chaos. The ultimate goal, they state, is the end of war, borders, religions, once scarcity is gone. A global paradise. It's a very seductive picture, isn't it? An inevitable, perfect future. But it's entirely dependent on their judgment, their timing, which creates this immense reliance on them. They hold the keys to paradise. Only they can decide when we're good enough to get it.
And it gives that classic warning, too, feels almost prophetic. Dawn is near, but the night's darkest hour comes first. Right. It's that powerful mix, looming disaster, but ultimate salvation right after.
It's a very common, a very effective persuasion technique. You see it in many movements, promising transformation. It creates this sense of urgency, maybe even fear. The night's darkest hour is coming. But immediately pairs it with the promise of salvation, dawn is near. This makes the listener feel they need the Illuminati to guide them through the coming darkness to reach the promised light. Creates urgency, makes you feel you need a leader, a savior, them. But here we go again, another logic gap pops up. If they really control the weather, have free energy, can 3D print organs, why is there still scarcity or chaos stopping this utopia now? If they have this amazing tech and are truly benevolent, why aren't they using it to help humanity get ready faster? Why wait? Why prolong the suffering and hardship before this magical age of illumination?
You'd think free energy alone would kind of solve scarcity overnight, wouldn't you? Yeah, the mismatch between claimed power and delayed utopia is odd. Okay, so from grand futures, the book tackles something even bigger. Chapter 8, The God Conundrum. How does this supposedly all-powerful group orchestrating everything deal with God, with religion?
This chapter is incredibly strategic in how it positions them. The book states point blank, the Illuminati is atheistic but exploits religion for control. But they're careful. They say they neither confirm nor deny God's existence. They just frame faith as a useful tool, a social construct, something to manage people. They also make sure to deny any links to Satanism or dark rituals, addressing those common rumors head on. It's very deliberate positioning.
What's really fascinating is how they tried to sound intellectually superior, right? Like above all that messy belief stuff. But they still admit they use it strategically. They're not saying God isn't real. They're saying it doesn't matter for their control. Or worse, that belief in God helps them control people. It's calculated ambiguity.
Exactly. That ambiguity is key. It lets the book appeal to different kinds of readers. It doesn't completely shut the door on believers, but still clearly positions the Illuminati and their goal of humanity's survival, as they define it, as the ultimate authority, the real path forward. Their final subversion of traditional faith is pretty profound. Worship nothing but humanity's survival. See how that works? It replaces God or spirituality with this collective human-focused goal, but a goal that they control and define. It ensures their authority remains supreme. They become the guides to this new salvation.
It's a very clever reframing of spirituality to serve their own narrative. Loyalty shifts from a deity to their grand design.
All right, now we get to maybe the most surprising part, the most contradictory maybe, chapters 9 to 11, all about joining the Illuminati. Now, the book says membership is invite only. Sounds exclusive, right? Fits the secret society vibe. But then literally it says readers can apply online. Gives a web address, illuminati.am. Talk about a twist for a secret society. An open online application form for the most exclusive club on Earth. This is really where the whole secret society facade just completely crumbles, doesn't it? Right. If it was ever really there. And then it goes on to lay out the tiers of membership. Creates this clear ladder to climb. You've got citizens, loyal followers, maybe wear the symbols, like that Illuminati talisman necklace they mentioned. Then ranking members, these are supposedly the elite influencers, CEOs, celebs, who enforce the policies. And at the top, the council, the real leaders, debating in that mythical white room. It sets up this very clear path. Aspiration. You can move up if you're worthy and commit.
And naturally, there are strict loyalty demands. And the book warns betrayal gets punished severely. Orchestrated scandals or ruin. Basically, they'll wreck your life. And that classic, ominous line, once you join, there's no going back. Ah! Okay, so the psychological manipulation now becomes a direct threat if you're thinking about getting involved. But let's just call it like we see it here. The book doesn't just describe these things. It actively pushes merch, specifically those talisman necklaces, and points you to an online membership portal. So is this really enlightenment on offer, or is it just a very fancy funnel for profit, for influence?
I think this is probably the clearest sign of what's really going on. A commercial agenda. A grift, maybe. Not some pure philosophical movement or a genuine secret society. The open, explicit commercialization, selling necklaces, soliciting online applications, which likely involve fees or commitments. It's the ultimate contradiction to everything they claimed before about being ancient, hidden, all-powerful. They supposedly control the world, but they need to sell books and jewelry. They claim to be secret and exclusive, but they have an online sign-up page. A truly powerful, truly secret group just wouldn't need to do any of that. It wouldn't make sense. It completely undermines their whole story. Strongly suggests the book itself is a product, and the readers, potential customers, or recruits for something that looks more like a business or a brand than a hidden order.
Yeah, it feels much more like an on-lease course or a lifestyle brand than a globe-spanning conspiracy. Okay, so finally, the book wraps up with a section called The Universal Design, and it basically just doubles down on all the earlier psychological games. Make sure you can't easily dismiss it.
Yes, it really closes the loop on that mind game. It essentially gaslights anyone still skeptical. It says, your doubt proves our power. But even if you refuse to believe, you're still part of our plan. See, it's designed to be inescapable. Even rejecting it supposedly confirms their control, and then it leaves you with this final lingering, well, is a threat or an opportunity. We're always watching. Will you rise to meet us? That last line, it's crafted to reinforce that feeling of inescapable surveillance, inescapable influence, makes you question your own judgment one last time, makes you feel that even if you hate it, you're somehow still validating them. It's a final power play, a last attempt at psychological manipulation. Leaves you feeling uneasy, maybe still hooked in some way.
Which raises a really important question.
Right.
After laying out these mind games so blatantly, how effective can they actually be? Hashtag, tag, debate, and reflect.
That's a great question. Because some of it, like the you scoff because we trained you to, that line, it feels almost too obvious, right? Comically direct.
Yeah.
But I think the effectiveness isn't necessarily in the subtlety. It's in the cumulative effect and how it taps into really deep human needs and vulnerabilities. That desire to feel special, to belong to something elite, to understand hidden truths, to find meaning in suffering. Those are powerful drivers. Even if someone reads it and consciously thinks, okay, this is fantasy, that little seed of, but what if? What if it is true? What if I'm one of the worthy ones? That seed can linger. It can subtly shape how you see things. The book isn't just selling a conspiracy theory. It's selling an explanation for chaos, a sense of belonging, a promise of power. That's appealing.
So after digging through all this, the wild claims, the psych tricks, the obvious contradictions, how do we sum up Illuminatiam, the First Testament, in this deep dive? Could any part of it actually be useful, maybe accidentally, even if the whole premise is false? Or is it just like New Age ideas wrapped in conspiracy drama, or something more deliberate, maybe even harmful?
Well, looking back at our dive, a few key things really stand out. They define the text, I think. First, it is absolutely saturated with psychological manipulation, no question. From that initial love bombing, making you feel chosen, to the mind games about doubt proving their power. It systematically tries to undermine your self-trust, your critical thinking. It uses fear surveillance, threats of ruin. It exploits that need for meaning by making suffering a test. It's textbook manipulation. Second, you just can't ignore the profit motive. It's right there, pushing merchandise like necklaces, the online membership portal. It points strongly to a commercial goal. It feels much more like building a brand or a business funnel to get paying followers than like sharing secrets from a hidden order. And finally, the contradictions are just fundamental. They're everywhere. Claiming omnipotence and secrecy while openly selling stuff and asking for online signups, preaching global unity while dividing everyone into sheep and shepherds, that elitist core. These aren't just minor inconsistencies. They completely dismantle the book's credibility as a coherent philosophy or a genuine message from some powerful hidden group.
So, for you listening to this, what stands out? Does any of this echo things you've seen or heard elsewhere? Or does it all just sound like a really elaborate, maybe cynical marketing campaign targeting people searching for answers, for meaning in a complicated world? Hashtag page tag close. Whether you believe a single word in Illuminatium, the First Testament, or not. This deep dive really serves as a reminder, doesn't it? A fundamental reminder. Question what you're told, even by us. It makes you reflect, I think, on our own desires. That pull towards hidden truths, towards belonging, towards simple answers when things feel overwhelmingly complex. It's a good reminder that sometimes the most convincing stories are the ones playing on those very desires. So after hearing all this, would you join something like this if you thought it was real? What do you think about books or groups claiming secret knowledge, offering an exclusive path to power or enlightenment? Let us know. Drop your thoughts below wherever you're listening to this deep dive.
Absolutely. And just remember, knowledge is powerful, but only when it's understood critically. Applied thoughtfully. Critical thinking is it's essential. Especially now, with so much information, so many narratives flying around. Always consider the source. Always look at the persuasive techniques being used. And always, always ask, what is really being asked of you here? What's the hidden cost behind that invitation?